Is Katara, Waterbending Master, good enough for Legacy? I hope so, because this card is sweet. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and we're going to be testing some Avatar cards today. So roughly 2 weeks ago, I got this list from Fanver, which is a really cool Dimir Tempo deck built around Katara Waterbending Master. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you get an experience counter. And whenever it attacks, you may draw a card for each experience counter you have. If you do, you discard a card. Couple quick rules notes here. Experience counters are unique to the player, not this permanent. They are not going on Katara. So if you get some experience counters with your first Katara, and then you play a Katara later in the game, you still have those experience counters. Which means that this could end up being some crazy serious card advantage in a long game. Secondly, this is a spell during an opponent's turn. A lot of these things care about non-creature spells. No, this can absolutely be creatures. So I liked this list a lot, and now that we're around to recording, the technology has caught up. So this was a list that I had in my hands a couple of weeks ago, and I want to emphasize this because some folks like Ozymandias and Eco Baronin have been playing these in challenges. And Fanver originally sent me an email being like, hey, I think I'm onto something. I think this was a card that was kind of skipped over a little bit. I think this is good. Here's my list. Well, here is a recent Legacy Top 8 challenge list. And it is incredibly similar to what I was given 2 weeks ago. There are a couple of innovations here, including some more instant speed removal options and a few more instants that could be cast during your opponent's turn. So we take out a couple of the things like the spell bomb that we saw here and the nethergoyfs and the kaito, stuff that encourages you to spend mana on your own turn for things that encourage you to spend your mana on your opponent's turn. And so we've gone up to the 4th Katara, added Consider, Snuff Out, and when I saw the original list, I wanted to go up another Murktide Regent anyway, and that has already happened here. So I like the stuff that's here a lot. And Fanver, I think this is like very, very much your original vision, with a couple of like very good legacy brewers having had their fingers in it and making some adaptations. Now, this is parallel development here, like 100%, but it's very surprising how close these two ideas were. So we're going to go ahead and roll through a legacy league with this list here that did well in a challenge, and I want to get a feel for how good Katara is. I'm going to be recording an episode of the Eternal Glory podcast tonight, talking about some of the recent Eternal Weekend results and Avatar cards, and I want to make sure I've got a good handle on this. I want to see how good this is. And if Katara ends up being any good and you need some copies, please consider getting them from my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU saves you a bit on your order. You always get free shipping, and I've always had a great working relationship with these folks. They have been awesome to work with, both from the content creator side and the customer side. That being said, let's go Waterbend. All right, opening hand here is totally fine. We have a Tamiyo, we have some number of counterspells with things to pitch to it, and a wasteland to serve as disruption. This is fine. My opponent revealed a Yorion as well. Sure thing. I'm going to go ahead and throw down a Tamiyo, and I will intend on protecting this just very, very aggressively. Archive, saying no to Solitude. Wasteland is annoying, but I've got active Tamiyo, so it's not actually the end of the world. Let's Force of Negation that and keep the Force of Will around. And then I will Wasteland my opponent here while acquiring a new Tamiyo clue. That is a Solitude. It's very awkward if my opponent dazes here. I guess this was a reason to just attack first. I mean, I guess I'm forcing, and it's just awkward. Okay, didn't happen. Well, I've got my clue. Opponent has more land. I have more land as well. This is great for me. I just have these banked clues for later on in the match. There's sewers. I don't know that I'm excited about a 2-mana petty theft when I have bowmasters and 2 clues to crack. I'd rather just have cheap interaction here. I'm going to assume that continuing to put pressure on my opponent's mana is a good thing. Let's see if we've got, nope, no bowmasters or Felio or anything there. Tamiyo just doing Tamiyo things. So now my opponent has Caracas for Tamiyo, but that's just like Rashadan Port, so I'm good with that. Sure. Tamiyo has already given me 3 clues. We're good with the Tamiyo, even if it doesn't get a lot more value from here. Oh, or I can just Planeswalker it, which I think I'm into. So yeah, Brainstorm. I'll keep the Days in hand. The Thoughtseize is pretty awkward to cast right now. I'm gonna bury that one. Transform Tamiyo plus Tamiyo. What a silly magic card. There's land drop 3. That's a Daze target. Bounce Underground Sea. There's C. I think I will just Tamiyo plus here and call it a turn. I know if I crack the clue, I'm getting a Thoughtseize. I think I am okay doing that. Wasteland is cool. Let's see what's going on over there. When this enters, exile target spell. It becomes blotted. Spells your opponent's cast from graveyards or exile cost 2 more to cast. Alright. I don't have a removal spell here yet. I think I'm just going to say that that's fine. Go ahead and plus with Tamiyo. And then pass with Bowmasters available. Opponent's probably got another Surveil land here. And says no to swords. They just need threats right now. And I'm not interested in wastelanding my opponent right now. I want to be cracking clues, playing Bowmasters, that sort of stuff. So this gets smaller. My Tamiyo goes down to 7. There's some weird spell my opponent is trying to cast here. They've tapped and untapped their mana a bunch of times. That is a Lavinia. That's fine. End of turn, I'm just gonna go ahead and use some mana here. That's what I wanted to find. I want to be able to have 2 Orcish Bowmasters available in response to this Tamiyo -7, in case my opponent has their own Bowmasters. Alright, I would like to draw the cards, please. Okay, I just get all the cards. Yeah, yep. So Tamiyo just carried that game, right? Multiple clues, multiple removal attempts that failed, and then draw 21 cards. Seems good. So my opponent is playing a pile O value creatures, so having some additional removal is probably fine. Having a couple of additional strong creatures that can come up the board is fine. Snuff Out is a weird removal spell versus Lavinia in particular, but it'll be pretty good versus most of the other nonsense there. I think I'm definitely going down Force of Negation. I think these 5 cards are worth considering. Katara is a legendary versus my opponent's Caracas deck, which is a little awkward. Having Katara and Tamiyo at the same time as focuses of the deck is a little awkward versus a Caracas deck. I think I'll trim a Katara if I'm going to bring in a couple of Goyfs anyway. And then I can decide whether or not I feel like I want Force of Will to break up some of the ephemerate nonsense that can happen. I think I still do. I think I have enough card advantage here that having Force of Will to back up a Goyf or a Murktide or whatever is just fine. Yeah, this is a fine opening hand. I don't have the Tamiyo to spiral the game out of control immediately, but I have a free removal spell and a Thoughtseize. This is fine. And this is a actually fair played MDFC. What's my basic situation like? 1 island, 1 swamp. I don't need a daze right now, so let's go ahead and start here. What is that? Airbend up to 1 target creature or spell. Waterbend 8, transform Aang. Can I see the backside of this? Whenever it attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each tap creature you control. Okay. The white spells aren't castable right now. I'm just going to take Bowmasters. So there's the expected Underground Sea. little bit more mana than I would like. That's awkward. It's slow. I don't think it's worth considering in response. I'll just petty theft that out of play at some point. I'll grab my basic now. I'll get this going. Opponent can consign a ping trigger if they want. Force, pitching, consign. Sure. I am drawing more land than I would like. I think I'm going to just go ahead and sorcery speed consider here. I'll say no to that. All right. All right, deck. Like, the Daze is fine for a Teferi that comes down if my opponent spikes the land this turn, but I think I'd rather just find a threat. I could petty theft this now, and it's fine. I think I'll just surveil land, though. Yeah, Tamiyo is good. That's the sort of thing that I'm looking for here. I think I will go ahead and Brazen Borrower that out of play immediately and throw down Tamiyo. Alright, there's my opponent's white mana. Now they can Teferi my Tamiyo out of play and make me make decisions in advance. I'm going to confirm I have one Surveil land. I have one Surveil land. So then I don't need to fetch again. Well, I have removal for when I need it. I don't happen to need it yet. So there's Tamiyo coming back down. And I will sort of unfortunately do the sorcery speed Brazen Borrower. And I have some creature-based removal, but I can't do it at instant speed, which is annoying. Caracas also annoying. Aether Vial comes back down. By playing Aether Vial, my opponent can't Ang and Caracas at the same time. This is a 2/3 flyer that I can't kill in the middle of combat. I really wish I would draw something other than land. Interesting. With that. Alright. Send it to Teferi. Okay, it's just 2 swords. Sure. Hopefully I don't lose this one as my deck just completely fucking bottoms out. I think I'm going to skip a land drop here in hopes of brainstorming these lands back into deck. Teferi pluses. That's a Recruiter of the Guard. Getting Thalia. Sure. Thank you, Force of Will. I think I need to actually take action on this Recruiter of the Guard. I don't want Aang airbending my spells out at awkward times. I'm now going to play that. Yeah. I can't hardcast the Force of Will, though. Fairy pluses, Violet 2. Belly is uncounterable. Aang is up. This is just not a great situation. I think I go bam bam. This is just very awkward with the Aang here. And I can't force back. I think I do kind of a middle ground in exiling spells. Like, the Thalia is problematic too with the Teferi there. So Teferi's just going to bounce. Then opponent can Thalia, blink Teferi. Caracas means that my stuff outs aren't great. Yeah, yep. Now Aang Caracas is a thing. Yori into hand as well. This may just be a time where my deck bottomed out and I lose because of it. We had a massive window in the middle of the game, and nothing just worked out. I can't kill these creatures with, like, oh, remove 1, Caracas bounce, push in response. I think I'm going to tap out here. I think my opponent's Dirtle pile out-dirtles me here. I'm still fine with my decision to bin that Daze early on in the game. We just drew an absurd amount of lands after that. Never saw a Brainstorm to fix. I could play the extra Wasteland here. I don't mind playing the extra Wasteland on the play. Opening hand is mediocre, but Brainstorm probably fixes it. I think I need to get an Underground Sea on turn 1 so that I can Brainstorm and fetch on turn 2. I suspect that I'm not going to want this Force of Will. Yeah. See what's going on. Thalia, Aven Interrupter, and Swords. I probably Daze a Thalia. Swords doesn't do anything right now. It'll do stuff later. I'm still going to take Swords. I would love to Brainstorm and then play a Tamiyo next turn. Marsh Flats. Is it the other way? Is it Tamiyo and then Brainstorm afterwards? No. There's another Underground Sea. There's Tamiyo. There's Brainstorm. I will put back, I think, Bam Bam. I'd kind of like to have both next turn. I don't think I get both next turn. Tamiyo pluses. And I now know most of my opponent's hand while having an active Tamiyo and 2 counterspells backing it up. Opponent does keep a card on top. There's the Delta that we already know about. And I think I could click on the Tamiyo buttons in a random order and win this game. I think it's totally fine to minus get the Thoughtseize back and attack the hand. I think it's also fine to just do what I just did. So Felio will now come down, which I will just Fatal Push for 1 mana. Resolves. Kill that dog. That is a Force of Will. Just pay for a daze? I think just pay for a daze. So 1 unknown card over there. Tamiyo plus is up to 8 with Force of Will for an Aven Interrupter. I don't even know that I counter Aven Interrupter. It doesn't stop me from doing the Tamiyo ultimate. Yeah, I think I'll just let it go. That can poke me for 1. There's our Tamiyo trigger. Tamiyo goes to 7. I'm not gonna cast any of these cards. I'm saving this for a Bowmasters on Bowmasters situation. Minus Tamiyo. When Aang enters, airbend up to 1 other target creature or spell. I'll just counter that. Alright, now I have all the cards in the world in my hand. And winning from here should be pretty trivial. Take out an Underground Sea. Yeah. Alright. GG. Tamiyo did Tamiyo things. We did not see Katara do Katara things. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. Alright, opening hand is fine. I would like to find something reasonable off a Surveil land in the first turn cycle, though. Like, if Katara Snuff Out is good, I can start getting some value in terms of looting, and Murktide Regent will be playable early-ish. Okay, that's resolving. And then the question becomes, like, do I wait to snuff out until my opponent's turn when I could brainstorm? That's a stressful question to be asking. Veil land time. Absolutely not. Now I think I'm comfortable doing Katara and then attempting a fight on my opponent's turn. It's still possible to lose that fight. There's a daze. So I think I will daze your daze, returning an Underground Sea. Resolve Katara, and then snuff out Tamiyo in upkeep for life. There we go. Katara trigger. Experience counters are over here. A little plant. A little growing plant. Okay, fantastic. So now I can start looting with Katara. I can just loot away one of these lands that I don't want. Yeah, trigger. Yes. Oh my god. That's awesome. Discard a Delta. 19. Underground Sea. Casual Murktide Regent. Snuff out Daze and a couple of lands. Do I? I think I just do. Daze you again? Like, as much as I want to be casting spells on my opponent's turn for Katara, I think I just take the 5/5 on a weak board. Katara definitely... Oh shit. Was fucking Doomsday the whole time? Fuck! Alright, continuing the thought while my opponent builds their Doomsday pile. Katara is definitely requiring more work than a Tamiyo does. Tamiyo just, like, attacks, gets the clue, has evasion built in a way that Katara doesn't. This is still kind of a sweet card, though. Opponent is to 9. I am attacking for 6. We are doing some tempo Doomsday stuff. I don't know that I'm going to have much agency to adjust what I do here. I'll get a loot with Katara. Oh, okay. That's not bad. Send in for 6. Draw. Discard a land. Hit opponent for 6. They're at 3. I'll pass the turn. There's some cycling. I can't impact that. There's some cycling. I can't impact that. I don't want to see Cavern of Souls. Fuck. 2 cards in library. That cannot be countered, but I can bounce it. So, Underground Sea. Thassa's Oracle resolves. Petty Theft. Thassa's Oracle. Trigger Katara. Hey, we get there. That Katara loot getting us just like that much deeper was certainly relevant. Let's take one more look here. Tamiyo's Murktides, got the Consider, got the LED, have some Wastelands as well. Okay, so Fatal Push answers Tamiyo but does not answer Murktide Regent. Snuff Out answers both. I think I'm into Consign on Oracle triggers. I'm definitely into Mystic Dispute as just a 1 mana counterspell for most of my opponent's cards other than Doomsday. I don't think I'm interested in the Goyfs here. What's bad? I don't really know what's bad. Is it Force of Negation? Since Force of Negation counters Doomsday but does not address Tamiyo and Murktide and Barrowgoyfs potentially out of the sideboard? Might be. I don't know how aggressive I can get with just doing something like cutting Considers. This is not a Ponder deck, so Consider is kind of part of my mana base. Let's go down on it and trim 1 Force of Negation. I'm bringing in other similar effects. I don't know that I get to trim any removal spells here because answering Murktide and Tamiyo in a timely fashion is just so important. Obvious mulligan. I only have Wasteland for mana. Yup. Definite keep on that one. All right. Well, I don't have an immediate answer to that, unfortunately. So it's just dueling Tamiyo o'clock where my opponent is on the play. Yep, so my opponent is on the play, so now they are the ones that get 2 Tamiyo days. Thanks, I hate it. Island comes back down, and now opponent gets to Tamiyo. Okay, it's not Brainstorm. That's the good news. I'm not sure if I can tap out for Katara in the face of Tamiyo. I might just need to Brainstorm for a Fatal Push or Snuff Out that can answer Tamiyo. I might just put this into play on my own turn. Nope. Anyway, how do y'all feel about Tamiyo backed by Days? Are we having fun? It's such a landslide. It feels dirty. I only have 2 cards in graveyard. Oh, so now I get to be the one doing this. So there's Tamiyo. I think I'm going to Brainstorm and go for the high upside play here. All right, I found Push. I did not find Land. This is overall fine. I'm going to hide you, put you on top, and we're going to try to ride this Tamiyo to victory. Hopefully next turn answering my opponent's Tamiyo. And I have some Force of Will and Consign stuff for if they pivot into Doomsday off of a Dark Ritual. All the Tamiyo triggers. Cracking a clue. I think immediately I will just attempt the Fatal Push. It works. And my win condition is the Tamiyo ultimate here. I have Consign available and Force of Will available, and a Murktide Regent in the not too distant future, as well as an alternative pivot plan. So this is all fine. Oh, that's just Barrowgoyf. Opponent Dark Ritualed, so they want to like crack a clue. I think I'm just gonna Force of Will that. I'll pitch the Katara there. Maybe I'm supposed to pitch Consign there and be able to play Katara as a blocker for the Tamiyo. I think I messed that up. We shall see. Murktide as follow-up. That one is resolving. Great time for a Snuff Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. There's my own Murktide, which is just a blocker. It's smaller than my opponent's Murktide. Very awkward if my opponent has Days, but they don't. So there's Tamiyo to 8. Land drop. Murktide gets smaller from Tamiyo, but still has the same amount of toughness. Now I go ahead and block. Petty Theft is annoying. Okay. And now presumably my opponent will crack a clue. Yep. This Daze is just the tiniest bit too late. There's Thoughtseize. Ponder is better than Force of Will right now, but I am going to need to remove this Murktide Regent. and I don't want my opponent to back up my limited number of removal spells for it with force, so I will take force and resolve my own Tamiyo. I'm taking a lot of damage very quickly here, and my spells in hand are not great. I suspect that my opponent gets this game. Their Tamiyo, protected by these initial dazes, got more value than my Tamiyo did. Okay, they're just passing with mana available. I think I need to draw a card, and I think everything about the situation is just now bad for me. Tamiyo trigger, because this Brazen Borrower is playable right now around days. So I will draw. Consign and days aren't helping me now, so this gets blocked, and then I take 10 on the backswing. All right, one more Fatal Push. I'm gonna play one more Fatal Push for this game. I could also sub some Kataras for my own glyphs. I think I theoretically like the card advantage of Katara, but it may just be that playing a standalone card that does not require any extra work is better than something that can build an engine. Yeah, this is fine. It's slightly awkward if I have to daze. I'm going to try not to daze in the first turn cycle because I want to do this immediately. Thoughtseize doesn't fit into my conceptual layout for the next couple of turns. Please don't Tamiyo. Fuck. I think I'm gonna try the Katara thing on their turn and hopefully not get punished for it. It's very awkward having to constrain my play patterns. Okay, that helps a lot to work with Katara. If this Katara works, though, it's going to be nutty. I just don't want to start fighting over it on my turn, which I'm going to have to do, it looks like. I'm going to daze and bounce island, and I'm going to take some small degree of risk here. And, well, it's not a small degree of risk. I'm going to take what I think is a necessary degree of risk to make Katara work and snuff out on my opponent's turn. I have Force of Will for a Brainstorm, otherwise I would not do this. So there we go. So now, presuming that Katara sticks, he should hopefully just take over the remainder of this game. Avern? On what? On Lurgoyf. Got it. So now I'd like to find a Fatal Push to answer the Barrogoyf that's coming. Alternatively, I just like shove my own Murktide Regent or something like that here. Oh, that's great. So trigger. I only discard one of these? Yeah. Yeah, this is not a pick and choose situation. I do just get it all. I mean, alright. I'm taking that one. 2 Brazen Borrowers is annoying. I've got the first one answered, but my opponent will do it on my turn so that I don't get the experience counter, and I can't brainstorm right now. Petty Theft. Force of Will. Pitch Brainstorm. Wasteland is cool. Draw 2 here. Discard 1. Is Consign good? Not right now, but it could become good. Like a Force of Will that's drawn is very good. 16. Wasteland. Your Cavern of Souls. Alright, there's a Tamiyo. So now hopefully Katara just digs me to something that works with that. Send it. Yes. I'll discard Consign. Now. Daze is a thing that exists. I think I'm going to do Murktide around Daze. There's a big Murktide. 8/8. And there's a Tamiyo. So my opponent can Petty Theft my Murktide, but that means that I'm still attacking with Tamiyo and Katara. Yeah, that did not feel particularly fair. The Katara was very good once she got going there. It does require investment, though. So GG's. Let's gather some more data. All right, my opening hand is just okay. I don't think it's worth mulliganing. I am maybe going to have to Force of Will something early on here. I'd prefer not to. Yeah, not Force of Will in that. All right. Targeted themselves there. Targeting me with this one. And a Wasteland. Sure. And I go ahead and consider here. Daze? Daze is okay. I'd rather draw a Tamiyo. Fatal Push is very good. My opponent gets 2 draws here. A new land drop. This is all fine. I think I just want to play Underground Sea here. despite the fact that I could be wastelanded again. I think I want to have the flexibility next turn of Brainstorm and Fetch while also holding up Fatal Push immediately. Do I even need to Brainstorm now? I think the answer is no. I think I'll just pass the turn here. I have a Force of Will for a Corey Steel Cutter, and I have 3 removal spells for any other creature, with Snuff Out being the one that I want to hold the longest because it hits Murktide Regent when Fatal Pushes don't. Unsure how aggressively I should be mulliganing for Tamiyo and Katara. I'm attacking and accumulating clues right now. It's totally different from just sitting back and trading roughly 1-for-1 with my opponent for a while. Alright, next land drop. Nothing else here. Do I surveil? I don't mind surveilling. This is more of the same that I already have. I think I'm going to be picky. This daze here means it's okay to Force of Will. Or sorry, okay to Brainstorm. And I think I just will. Oh. I don't love all of these cards. This is just too much mana. I think I'm going to go land back, and I've already played my land drop, so I'll call that a turn. No mana use from my opponent. I'm not messing with that. I think this is likely to be a very, very good Brainstorm. But I think I just want to be able to daze a Corey Steel Cutter that comes down. Alright. I'll fetch. I think we're fully off of basic lands this game at this point. Opponent doing something in response. Sure, I just have more land on top of my library. Am I willing to draw yet another land? Sure. Attempt to wasteland you. Succeed in wastelanding you. Opponent is just not making any offensive moves here. I mean, neither am I. But I imagine that they are the one who wants to end this game more quickly. Alright, there's the Corey Steel Cutter. I've been waiting to counter that all game. And the hope is that my opponent does not have Force of Will to back that up. Ooh! So I will deploy my own land and pass right back. Now the next hope is not another Corey Steel Cutter. We're fine with Murktide Regent. We're fine with DRC. Wasteland's fine. Float some mana. I'm going to float blue. Just representing a counterspell or whatever. Yeah, I guess I'll do it in my opponent's upkeep. This is a very atypical game. Upkeep, do this. Yep. This is Please Don't Corey Steel Cutter Me, the game. We're both relatively deep into our deck. And we are playing Magic, but we are not doing anything that impacts the life total here. Actual factual preordain. No doubt in support of things like Corey Steel Cutter and Murktide Regent. Okay, there's an offensive card for me. There's Katara. Katara's in play. I'm not going to sweat it. I fully expect that this card will eat a lightning bolt. That's not even being used offensively. Don't love that. Alright, there's a Delver. So no monk attack. I believe I'm going to go ahead and just go for a Fatal Push here on my opponent's turn, even though this is dazable, because I would like to remove some creatures and scale up Katara at the same time. Alright, that is a daze. Well, I still get my experience counter. And I think in respect of my experience counters, I now go ahead and snuff out the monk token. That is a Force of Will. That's fine. Katara is drawing 2. I think I'm going to go ahead and junk the monk right now. Go to punchies, draw 2. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I think I discard the Delta. Very weird. Delver trigger. Very, very important trigger here. Alright, they missed. That's great for me. Land drop. That means that Corey Steel Cutter is not triggering. DRC. I'm forcing this purely for the experience counter. And now my opponent can choose to either wasteland me or equip Corey Steel Cutter. They're going for the equip. So they can hit me for 2. I'm hitting them back for 1. But I am getting a lot of card advantage here. There's Katara. Oh, shit. Card Brainstorm, I think. Make land drop. Cast a Murktide Regent. And be able to Orc Bowmasters. Delver does not flip. Alright. That was a weird game of Magic. GG. I am very glad that my opponent had Stifle in their deck rather than things that were killing me. Alright, we've got Hydroblast for Corey Steelcutter. I have Fatal Push for creatures. I have Mystical Dispute as well. I'm into Barogoyfs as threats, and these are even possible. Honestly, this is possible too. I think Force of Negation is going out. A lot of this game is just about Corey Steelcutter. Corey Steelcutter might be scary enough that I just keep Force of Will. Force of Will, very, very good with Katara. Thoughtseize is less good with Katara. Do that, maybe. Might just get rid of my Considers. Go up an extra land. EE is not super efficient at answering Cutter. So this gives me 4 Force and 2 Hydroblasts. And technically Mystic Dispute and Brazen Borrower and Daze. Okay, I think this is respecting Corey Steelcutter enough. That's a weird looking hand. Not the removal that I'd like to see, but my opponent kept a very slow hand last time. Hopefully that happens again. All right, cool. And I might just fetch around a Stifle immediately. Shuffle off Ponder. I have a lot of counter magic. Yeah, let's just secure a basic land here. All right, very nice. That's a Corey Steelcutter. Float mana, and attempt to daze that. Oh shit, it just worked. I'm just going to Brainstorm to put a card into my graveyard here. Very nice. I may be getting rid of one of these. I'm probably just redrawing everything, so I'm not going to think too hard about this. We did have the Bobble, that's not surprising. So Bobble redraw happens on my turn. And then I'm just going to play basic Island with Hydroblast available for the next Corey Steelcutter. If Daze does not cover it. Ponders are fine, I'm not attacking cantrips here. I don't think I'm just going to fire off this Brainstorm. I think there's going to be a little bit of draw go that happens. If my opponent fetches right here, I will fetch basic Swamp. They did not. Land drop 4. Counterbalance. Unexpected. I think that I am interested in fetching here to see if a Stifle happens on this land before anything else happens. Negative. I'll pick up a basic. Now let's start our fight over this. The days are numbered. I think I Force of Will and pitch Daze. And then I have Hydroblast available for Pyroblast on my Force of Will. Or not. Alright, looking at all this here, I think I now just Brainstorm at end of turn. There's a Katara. 2 Murktide Regents. Might just be into redrawing all of this land. Probably into just redrawing all of this land. I think the play is Katara like this, so Hydroblast is available. And I Murktide on future turns. Fetching and Surveil land. If my opponent Lightning Bolts Katara, I don't know if I fight over it because Hydroblasting a Corey Steelcutter is so important. But it may just be that I need to use my mana. Yeah, that's fine. That's land drop 4 for my opponent. No spells cast yet for Katara. So Katara is not impressive right now. So I fetch. There's Underground Sea. Brainstorm Force. Brainstorm Daze. 1 land. This does mean that Hydroblast is not available immediately. Making my Katara kind of awkward right now. So no to this ability, I have no experience counters. 17. No mana usage. This is fine. A new Wasteland. Sure. Alright, we are playing a whole lot of draw go here. Are we going to fight in my upkeep over the Katara? Petty Theft? What are we doing? Petty Theft. Yeah, on Murktide Regent, the Katara not drawing bonus cards right now. Okay, this is fine. I'll play Wasteland. I don't know that I am interested in Wastelanding my opponent right now, though. Might be more likely that I just need the extra Wasteland mana to play around opposing Dazes and Spell Pierces or whatever. Just another land drop. It is very awkward that my opponent is not giving me any Hydroblast or Fatal Push targets. Like, I just don't get to use any of my mana here. Well, that's a good Magic the Gathering card. I will then throw down a Tamiyo. And I might need to Wasteland to turn on Revolt for Fatal Push. Yes, for sure. Alright, there's not another Thundering Falls. Very awkward that I don't have that available because of the whole land situation. That is what it is. I think in upkeep, go ahead and Wasteland Thundering Falls. And Fatal Push Brazen Borrower to get my first Katara trigger. Oh, now we Pyroblast. And a Daze. Alright, so we know my opponent's one card in hand is the land they just returned via Daze. This is not a bad situation as long as I draw a blue land in the next couple of turns. Hey, a blue land. Fetch. Underground Sea. And Murktide. Not a lot of goodies to get rid of, though. This is a small Murktide. Hopefully the next one will be bigger. One unknown card is a Pyroblast, and I don't have Hydroblast available. This basic swamp absolutely needs to be in the deck, but this is slightly frustrating just in terms of the number of blue pips that I need. Down to 9. Baby Murktide. Am I willing to take 3? I don't know that I'm willing to take 3 here. I might just need to trade here. I think there's too many scenarios where my opponent just attacks me for 3 and then does something that answers the Murktide Regent, and I'm in bad shape. I think I am just going to assume that this game gets better for me as the turn counter ticks up, and to do this, I'm unhappy about it. But like I have things like Goyf that I can top deck. We're mostly looking to dodge, like a Corey Steelcutter. Alright. Tradesies. Force of Will is not what I'm looking for. There's a Bobble. Opponent is fetching. Cracking the Bobble. I'll take 3. Bobble redraw. I assume that I've used my Surveil land at this point. No? I have not. Alright. Margins are tight here. I'm already dead to a lightning bolt. I don't know what you want me to say there. That feels very unfortunate. I think Katara lost us that game. My opponent just did not need to answer it because I had no experience counters. But I get to be on the play this time, so you know. Alright, now I'm on the play and I get a Tamiyo hand. Hell yeah. Not only a Tamiyo hand, a Tamiyo Daze Force of Will hand. And I can start on a basic. Tamiyo in play. There's a Lightning Bolt. There's a Daze. Yep. Oh, nice. More land is just awesome right now. I think I actually play Underground Sea, so Fatal Push is available. And let's just always yield to that. There is a Wasteland. There's a DRC. I'll answer that on my turn with Fatal Push. I'm not going to counter that one. Tara is a fine pickup. Tamiyo comes in. Fatal Push DRC. Opponent's F6'd. Up to 2 mana. This might be Corey Steelcutter time. Counterbalance. I'll Force of Will that. I think pitch Katara here. Oh, nice. Send in Tamiyo. I just want to keep hitting land drops here. Nice. Bowmasters. King your face. So Unholy Heat is taking out Bowmasters. That means my Tamiyo lives. And now I just don't want my opponent to have a Wasteland. I just want to be able to start cracking my clues and cashing in this Tamiyo value. Alright, that's not Wasteland. I don't even care if the Tamiyo dies anymore. Tamiyo did not die. Oh, this is mana inefficient, but I don't know that I complain about this, right? The damage and another clue. I have Brazen Borrower for if a Corey Steelcutter comes down. Not that I can use it immediately, but that's the medium-term plan. Okay, yeah, this is fine, right? Like, damage is done. Damage would have been greater with one more draw. Yeah? 15. I think I'm just going to try to hit another land drop here. Did not succeed. Hit a great draw for next turn, though. Every time it's not Corey Steelcutter, I'm so happy. Delver's fine. Not sweating that right now. Yup. There's a Tamiyo. Looks like opponent's got a Pyroblast. I'm going to brainstorm anyway, so I'll brainstorm with this on the stack. Oh, yeah? Put back 1 and 2. Force of Will that. Stick a Tamiyo. Make a land drop. Send in for 1. Opponent's at 14. Delver flips to an Unholy Heat, which will take out the Tamiyo, meaning it's not going to kill Murktide Regent, which I am a fan of. What type of land was on top of my library below this? It doesn't matter, I want to play around Daze. Force, Brainstorm, Push, Force, Daze? 8/8 Murktide. That is real hard to get out of the way. So now I just want to find an answer to maybe a Quarry Steelcutter. It's not real hard to get out of the way. Quite a few Pyroblasts. So bam. Let's do this actually. Then I still have blue available. Ooh, nice. Yeah. Tamiyo was silly. Stifling a clue trigger. That is the point of the game that we are at. I have Barrogoyfs and you have Stifles. We are not the same. I suspect that opponent is going to need another Unholy Heat. I think we've seen like 2 of those already, right? Yeah, we've seen 2 Unholy Heats. I don't know that my opponent can answer the 6/7 Goyf. So, land drop, Goyf, combat, 1, pass. Ooh, Bobble is not what my opponent is looking for. I'm at 5. I'm already dead to Price of Progress, so fetching is fine. This does not put me in range of a Lightning Bolt immediately. Go Underground Sea to crack the clue token. Haze is not what I'm looking for. Bowmasters is fine. Send in. Now I'm up to 10 life. This is tough for the opponent. Another Stifle? You may have your Stifle. And there is the concession. All right, Fanver. Proof of theory. This is absolutely working. GG. All right, my opening hand does not have mana. That is a mulligan. Oof. On 6, I think I'm okay with this. We are relatively disruptive. I think I'm going to get rid of Bowmasters. So I have Force of Negation, pitching Katara. Oh, wow, a Glistener Elf. All right. So we're going to fight on our turn. I think this requires Underground Sea. We'll start here. Okay, it just worked. That's great. That's fine. So I have to fight against Inkmoth Nexus on my opponent's turn, which is a little unfortunate. Force of Negation works on their turn, though, so not all is lost. I think we're going to Thoughtseize rather than Consider and try to hit a land drop. Consider is not very much selection. I would Brainstorm or Ponder here, but I don't know about... Oh, yes. So opponent has a lot of land and is presumably Brainstorm locked. They might have hid something good on top of their deck. So their best card might be what they just drew. All right, there's Inkmoth. There's Pendelhaven. With most of my opponent's hand known, I think I am comfortable snuffing out here. A lot of times you don't actually want to fight in combat because it can lead to a blowout. And so you're sometimes willing to take some chip infect damage to not risk just getting wrecked by Hexproof or Shroud or whatever. Daze is okay. Now let's try to hit a land drop. Murktide Regent is not a land drop. Tamiyo is not a land drop, but I'm totally fine drawing a Tamiyo. My current problem is that I'm not great versus creature spells, specifically. That's sorcery speed? All right. I would really like more mana. I'm going to go ahead and Brainstorm. Okay, I do hit. I'm going to end up redrawing all of this. Bam, 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 bam. Tamiyo in play with 2 counterspells backing it up. That sounds great, but again, the creature spells don't get answered by Force of Negation. That one I don't care about. Orcish Bowmasters is kind of a removal spell. Kind of. Oh, alright, I guess let's go ahead and attack with Tamiyo immediately. Get that going. And I'm going to try to stick a Katara here. I want to just get the experience going. I could try to just end the game as quickly as possible by playing Murktide Regent this turn instead. But I think I want to be able to like aggressively Force of Negation and Daze and such. And I will just Force of Negation here and get counters on Katara ASAP. Basic Forest comes down. Big mana for something. Big mana for Invigorate. I'm going to go ahead and Daze that, as weird as this looks. I just want this experience. Oh, does opponent have the untappy thing? Opponent does have the untappy thing. Thought they were just trying to push some damage. Which one? Alright, taking out Katara. This is fine. The end result of having this Pendelhaven tapped is also that Orcish Bowmasters turns into a removal spell. Is it a removal spell right now, though? I don't know that it's a removal spell right now. I think I just do that. I guess I could have seen that Legolas's Quick Reflex is coming, but I guess it has Split Second, so if I don't interact there, I don't get to interact. Lures are fine. Land? I'll say no. Land's okay, I think that's all it is. Send it, and then pass the turn. Oh, I mean, if I must. If I must. In your face. Maybe the first one goes at Noble Hierarch, and the other two, and then the other three afterwards go at face. Yeah, I think that was correct. That way my opponent can't get into some weird Invigorate Berserk situation that threatens to kill me. I don't know that they can threaten to kill me through the Orc Toughness, though. Very happy to win game one here. Interested in Wasteland, interested in Push. Then there's some slower removal spells that I can think about. Toxic Deluge is something that clears like a Hierarch and a Glistener Elf at the same time. It's okay. It seems like my main deck is already pretty good against this sort of stuff. I'll turn 2 Considers into another land and a Fatal Push. I don't know that I'm going to do more beyond that. EE on the draw is pretty slow. Force of Negation is not the most exciting thing in the world, but it helps me prolong the game in some situations, and when I have Tamiyo and Katara threatening a whole bunch of cards, even just Force of Negationing a Ponder or equivalent is not all that bad if I have the source of card advantage. Yeah, this is totally fine. I have a removal spell for the first creature. I have Thoughtseize to protect Tamiyo. I have a Bowmasters, which is a removal spell, a Wasteland. Like, there's so much to like here. That's fine. I'm probably not fatal pushing that one. Another Wasteland. I think we're doing Underground Sea stuff here. I believe I am interested in Thoughtseize. Reasonable magic cards. I'm just going to take Force of Will. I think I just want to know that my things are going to work. Oh, opponent can now select, and hopefully this gets set up in a way where my Orcish Bowmasters is good for me. Fatal Push on Hierarch now seems fine. Opponent brainstorms in response. I don't get to Bowmaster here. I will just let this resolve, though. Hierarch's dead. Inkmoth Nexus is dead. And next turn I either have play Tamiyo and Wasteland or Bowmaster a threat and move on. Pendelhaven. Oh, cool. An opponent committed Pendelhaven to the board prior to pondering. They have a Hierarch, which is fine. I will probably just Bowmaster that immediately, especially with that draw. Get 'em. I haven't had time to get Tamiyo in play, but things are still going very well despite that. Alright, opponent is chilling. I think I'm into this. Send in with these. Opponent takes 2. I throw down a Tamiyo. And opponent is missing land drops. They're missing land drops in the face of an active Tamiyo. That's a very bad place to be. Send it. Investigating. 15. I'll drop a Katara and probably be quite aggressive with a Daze given that fact. Not given any targets here. I'll just Surveil to round out this turn cycle. Land? It's not bad with the clues there. Yeah, but I want to draw more cards that look like that. So send them. Triggers always yield to Tamiyo. I wonder if at some point we will see a Berserk on one of my creatures just to kill it. Oh, Mr. Percy wants to see out the window. Hold on. I got you. This is only 3 damage, but the clues are pretty brutal. I'll hold up mana until my opponent's end step. I'm fine cracking a clue, but otherwise I want to be able to play around soft permission like Daze. Alright, so opponent says, you don't get to counter my stuff. That's fine. That also means they don't get a draw off of the Veil, which I'm good with. So that's a Brainstorm after Veil. And now there's these Bowmaster triggers, right? So now I can't point these at face. I will just point these at my Orc army instead. And that works out in a way that it does not actually end up killing the orc. Katara getting no value. Unless I, like, luck into a brainstorm or something here. Hey. That's a little weird. I'm not gonna do that. Nice. Send in with everybody. This is just lethal amounts of damage next turn. My opponent's got 6 cards, but they have to deal with push, Force of Will, Daze. Ink Moth is fine. Blighted Agent, I will Fatal Push out of play, or at least attempt to. So, trigger. And this is now just lethal damage on board. All right. GG, I believe we are now playing for the trophy. Final round opening hand is not ideal. I think I'll keep it. I have a free removal spell for if my opponent has a turn 1 Tamiyo. I have Katara with Snuff Out, which means that it's pretty easy for me to cast that first spell to get this going. An opponent says hello. Opponent is on 5 cards. Opponent says hello, YouTube. All right. We are not prepared for oops. We're just dead. Yep. Uh-huh. Cool. That was a Force of Will check hand. We did not have Force of Will, and we lost. We'll take a quick look at anything neat about my opponent's build. Not too much stands out here. We're dead. Wasteland in, Consign in, Surgical is probably good enough to play, although it's awkward versus Memories Journey. Not excited about this. This is a bad counterspell. Bad counterspell may end up being acceptable. So now there's this awkward thing where my opponent could have a number of different juke plans. A lot of those are creature-based. Snuff Out does not kill the black creatures. That's going to be the first thing that's going from my deck. Bowmasters is not particularly strong either. My opponent has juke Bowmasters. I might want to have access to a Bowmaster or two. And I can consider this last Fatal Push as well. I think sort of like I've been doing, I'm going to trim on Considers and then maybe trim a Bowmaster here. This is a fine hand. It is highly interactive. It can answer creatures. It can answer spells. And opponent didn't open up on something like a Leyline of Sanctity to blank the Thoughtseize, which is nice. All right, is the Goblin Charbelcher juke plan. That's going to be the card that I take here. Opponent draws a land for turn, and we'll probably go ahead and just play out Lotus Petals here. Mana is not going to be the bottleneck this game. Payoff cards are. I'd like to draw another land here to get Katara into play ASAP. So now we'd actually kind of like my opponent to do a win attempt next turn so that I can Force of Will and get Katara going. Otherwise, the following turn cycle, I end up brainstorming on my opponent's turn. That's a Cobalt Therapy. I think to get Katara going, I will just go ahead and Force of Will that, despite some awkwardness here. So doing this means that I keep 1 Force of Will for the future, rather than lose both Force of Wills, but keep a Brainstorm. Send in, trigger, yes, discard Fatal Push, deal 1. Now at opponent's end step, I will Brainstorm just for the Katara trigger. Okay, very nice. I will bury Force of Will. I'm going to get to it almost immediately. Katara is just going to do Katara things. Daze? I want this. I'll get rid of Daze. Thoughtseize you. Those cards don't really do things. I guess I'll get rid of a Dark Ritual. And I think I am safe enough to just play a Tamiyo here and get that going as well. Alright, no spells from my opponent. Punchies. Send in. Tamiyo and Katara want me to cast spells at different times. Oh, I guess this is going to transform this. I'll discard a Tamiyo. Tamiyo plus last turn. End of turn, purely to use mana and trigger Katara. I will Brainstorm. Nice. Bam and bam. Land drop. Tamiyo plus. Combat. Send it. Fetch. I don't want to redraw the other Katara. Ancestral. Start a tapped land. And I'll go ahead and Murktide Regent here. Storm Thoughtseize, Brainstorm, Push, Force. That's just a 2-turn clock backing up all these counterspells now. Dark Ritual. Bell the Profane. I probably counter that. Pitch the Daze, trigger Katara, Wasteland you, go to combat, send in, draw 4, discard a land, opponent to 7, dismiss that, Thoughtseize you. Those are not great cards. That was a beating. Hopefully we can do the same thing when they're on the play. Active Negation's a hell of a drug. Alright, I know they're on the Charbelcher Juke, which means Fatal Push becomes less important. I can bring some Considers back in. I can play some Mystical Disputes. I'm into that. I could also just leave a push or two. Occasionally, you do have to worry about just, I'm going to cast Poxwalkers again and again and again, and just getting some small creatures out of the way and be relevant to get something like a Katara in there. I just play much bigger creatures like Murktide Regent, though. Bowmaster is also not exciting. If I'm not expecting just a pile of creatures, you can just get Considers back in there to go through cards, and 2 Bowmasters, 2 Goyfs, 2 Fatal Pushes. Do the card that has Flash. This has no land. This has reasonable interaction, and I die if my opponent turn 1s me. That's not how I like to gamble my trophy, but I think that's what I'm doing. Opponent on 4. I have a Wasteland to blow up a land, a Consign for a colorless card. There is a lot to like about this hand. Let's see if I die. The 4-card hand can still easily kill me if my opponent just fucking YOLOs on turn 1. Alright, they did not YOLO on turn 1, and I am very happy. That means Wasteland is now live on, presumably, my opponent's only land. Maybe they have 2. Opponent taking Tamiyo, which makes sense. Tamiyo is a dumb Magic the Gathering card. Oh, nice. That's so much safety. Goodbye, land. Alright, they do have more mana. I'll just pass the turn here with the intention to Surveil. Alright, no, they mulligan fishing for a good hand and then ended up just keeping mana, which is reasonable. Maybe doesn't feel great, but it's reasonable. I will say no to that land. Tara. Much as I don't like dropping Consign, I do just have Force of Will, so if I make it around, I will never need to tap out on my turn again. Nice, and I do. Oh, and I get Tamiyo? Hell yeah. Send in for 1. No experience yet. 14. Am I okay with playing Tamiyo? A little awkward. If I get Thoughtseized and I lose Consign, I don't have Force of Will active if I play Tamiyo, so I think I'm just going to hold Tamiyo for a turn. I think I am in do not lose mode. And then I get to start triggering Katara and spiral the game out of control with this. 13. Alright, there's another blue card for Force of Will. Send in. Trigger. Yes. I don't think I need another Bowmaster. Opponent takes 3. I'll play Tamiyo. That can happen. I'm going to lose Force of Will. But opponent is not going for a win attempt here, which is really nice for me. So then I will consider, trigger Katara, get rid of Katara, draw a Consider, lol, Underground Sea, cast Consider, Thoughtseize is fine, I'll take that. 3 experience counters, by the way. Brainstorm, so yeah, triggers, Ancestral, we do have to discard 1, rid of Bloodstained Mire, Tamiyo, opponent takes some damage, Tamiyo plus, Thoughtseize you, ooh, there's a Goblin Charbelcher, I'll take that. Yep. Wasteland, Wasteland, target one of your lands, pass turn, that popped out. All right, we have gotten the GGs in chat. That will be the trophy here. So there is the 5-0 proof of concept with Katara Waterbending Master. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Honestly, pretty darn good. The big question here, I think, is Is this better than existing Dimir Tempo decks that play things that are either lower to the ground, like Nethergoyf, or have main deck access to something like Barrowgoyf to help stabilize you versus things like Izzet Delver? I have a couple of concerns with the list. Number one, as we saw in the first round, opposing Caracas can be really, really rough. And having a ton of your threats bounceable by Caracas is not great. If you draw two Kataras at the same time, it can be awkward. Two Tamiyos at the same time is usually not all that bad because you can transform one and then play the creature type. But Katara transforming Tamiyo is something that wasn't kind of mentally on my radar at first, but seeing it in action, that was kind of cool. Another thing that I'm concerned about is opposing Orcish Bowmasters. Like, Katara trigger draw 4, Orcish Bowmasters in response. Like, uh-oh, that is kind of scary. Snuff Out was really, really good with Katara. I think Snuff Out is an innovation difference from this original list that I was sent that I think is very, very important. There's still some tension, right? There's still some number of things that you want to do on your own turn, such as Thoughtseize. The final game showed how good Consider actually can be. Stringing Consider into Consider and just making Katara go very, very deep on the digs was quite powerful. I liked that a lot. Throughout the rest of the league, I was cutting Consider relatively aggressively. Maybe that was a mistake on my end. Overall, I like this a lot. I did not feel like I was super missing anything in terms of sideboard slots here. This was a lot of fun to play, and I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!